guys, so today's video is actually a foundation review. Tarte just recently sent me their brand new foundation. It is called the Found Sealer, like foundation and concealer combined. And it's their multitasking foundation with SPF 20. I don't know what it is about fart. I was gonna say I don't know what it is about Tarte and their foundation names, and I said fart. If I had $1 for every time I called Tarte fart. But what I was saying was that Tarte always makes me laugh with their strange names, like Shape Tape, Tape Face, Found Sealer. What? I mean, whatever, the name doesn't really matter. But in today's video, I'm gonna be giving you my thoughts on the foundation. This was gonna be a first impressions, but I've quickly realized that I'm gonna do first impressions more in the future because I know a lot of people like them, but I know there's also a lot of people who don't. Some people prefer actual reviews, not so much first impressions when it comes to foundations. And I can totally understand that, especially from someone like me who changes their mind so often. And sometimes I will hate something before I love it, or vice versa. I have to try something a few times before I can really tell. And today is the third day of me trying this foundation. I wore it all day yesterday and all day the day before. I was actually in the middle of filming another video. I was attempting to film this tutorial, but it's a little sloppy. I don't know how many people are gonna wanna see it. But because I was filming that, I completely forgot to zoom into my face right after initial application. Every time I do a foundation first impressions and I put the foundation all over my face, I always zoom in, and I completely forgot to do that. But I did film myself applying the foundation though, and I made sure to use a damp sponge on this side of my face and then a brush on this side, just to see which side I prefer. This is a Flower Beauty sponge, if anybody's wondering. It's amazing, super affordable, total beauty blender dupe. But anyway, let's get into this. So I started doing my makeup around 12 p.m. It is currently 3 o'clock because I stopped to eat and all of that. So I have had this foundation on for about 3 hours now. But let's break this down. Let's talk about what this claims to do, what it claims to be. This is supposed to be like your perfect foundation. It's supposed to give you everything in one. That's why it's called a multitasking foundation. This is supposed to help hydrate the skin and plump the skin and diminish the look of fine lines and wrinkles. And this has Babaçu oil in it, which I had to Google myself because I had no idea what that was. It's a Brazilian palm that yields an edible oil which is sometimes used in cosmetics. And that's what's really gonna nourish and moisturize your skin when it comes to this foundation. There's also sunflower seed oil, which has vitamin A and E. There's hyaluronic acid in this, which is all the rage these days. Hyaluronic acid is actually really good. It just helps retain your moisture in your skin, like it helps keep it there, so that's amazing. It's also hypoallergenic and has medium coverage. Now, when I first tried out this foundation, I hadn't heard anything about it. I hadn't read anything about it online. And as soon as I was done applying it to my skin and I was reading the claims, I was a little bit confused because it kept saying it was hydrating and nourishing and all of that. And I didn't really feel that way because I automatically connected moisturizing and hydrating with like dewy and glowy, and they're completely different things. A foundation can be hydrating and not dewy. Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of the vibe I get from this. I don't feel it to be really matte. It's not drying on me whatsoever, but it's not dewy or luminous by any means. There's no shine, but you're also not matte. And I felt that way even using the Smashbox Photo Finish Primerizer. It leaves a very beautiful hydrating base underneath, and it just makes any foundation you put on top look a little bit more glowy. And I still felt that this combination wasn't dewy at all. It just looked really natural, but still kind of flawless. I mean, this does have medium coverage, but it still gives you that perfected, even, beautifully flawless base without being too cakey or too makeup-y. It's not a super matte, high coverage, extreme, glamorous foundation, but it's not sheer or skin-like or anything like that. I would say you can 100% get a full coverage look with this, just add a little bit more. Not so much around my nose and in between my brows. Those are my trouble areas. I find that foundation just cakes up in those areas because I am so dry, but I did build up the coverage on my cheeks, and I found that it did build up really nicely. When it comes to what tool I like to use to apply this, I personally prefer a beauty blender or a damp sponge, since it does sheer out the foundation a little bit and it gives me a little bit more of a dewy glow. I do prefer this, but honestly the difference is so minimal. You can go either way, brush or sponge. I would say so far, after trying this foundation out for a couple of days, I do really like it. It's not my favorite foundation by any means. You guys know my favorite type of foundation are the really dewy sheer ones, but but I know that's not everyone's cup of tea. But this foundation is actually really, really nice. I feel like it works well with my skin type and it stays looking really nice all day. The only thing I would say is that it claims to be radiant, but I wouldn't call this foundation radiant. I didn't set my face today. Normally I would 100% set my face with my Morphe setting spray, but I really wanted to show you guys this foundation exactly how it is. And I only powdered underneath my eyes, and right where I added concealer, I added a little bit of concealer in between my brows, which I shouldn't have done that, but I was in the middle of a tutorial, I completely forgot. But even then, if I have a cakey foundation on and I apply concealer on top of that, it usually looks like a mess. And the area in between my brows looks perfect. It looks awesome, and I've already been wearing this foundation for over 3 hours. One thing it does claim that I have noticed is that it says it's good for like fine lines and wrinkles, and it's supposed to diminish the look of them. Now, you guys know, I don't know how many of you guys know, but I spoke about it in my collab with Raw Beauty Kristi. I did get filler on my smile lines, but I was so afraid to do it. I was so scared to look like a bulldog that I got like the bare minimum. When I tell you she barely filled my lines in, she barely filled them in. But it did make a big difference even with just that. So I know I have a little bit of filler already, but because I got so little bit, I still have lines there, and there's no running away from that. Normally by the 3-hour mark where I am now, my lines would look really crazy. But this foundation just sits so beautifully on top of my lines. And I know I can't use this as a reference since I did fill them in, but my forehead, for example. We all make expressions, you know? We all have forehead lines, and I feel like this foundation doesn't really sink into my lines like so many other foundations do. You can just see that my skin looks pretty smooth. I mean, I have a bunch of little bumps on my forehead that are coming out of nowhere, and I really hope they're not back. I really hope that's not gonna happen to my forehead again. But you can just kind of see that the foundation overall just looks really smooth and really good, I feel. I don't know. There's nothing really negative to point out just yet. At the same time, I do have other foundations in my collection that I like more. But I try out so many foundations all the time. I feel like I can say that about almost every foundation except my like top 5, you know? I'm also noticing that the area around my nose is a little bit heavy. Let me show ya. It's just like slightly heavy right here, but I mean, that's just me being overly picky and overly critical. I think it looks good, right? Video is not sponsored, by the way. Just because they sent this to me doesn't mean I have to say anything nice. I've actually dogged Tarte several times in the past. I'm surprised they still send me things. Like, I had their last foundation in a disappointing products video, so. But anyway, guys, I guess that's all I have to say right now. I still want you guys to see what my foundation looks like at the end of the night. So I will check back at the end of the night and I will show you guys what it looks like after so many hours. I'm gonna try to check back around 10 o'clock because I wanna leave this foundation on for at least 10 hours. So yeah, I will see you guys tonight. Wait! Before I go, I'm pretty sure I've already used this quote on this board in the past, which means that I've already been doing this for a really long time, that I'm repeating quotes, or that I'm just not creative enough. But anyway, if this quote has been on my board before, this is the universe showing you that you needed to read it again. I don't know why the universe wants you to know this, but it does. And also, since I'm in the middle of filming another video, you're gonna get that message again in a future video if you want this look. But anyway, I'll see you guys tonight. Hello, friends. Okay, I couldn't make it to 10 p.m. I am so incredibly tired right now, which I don't understand why, because I woke up at 8:30. It's not like I woke up super early or anything, but it is currently 9:27 p.m., almost 10 p.m. But I have had this foundation on for almost 10 hours now, and this is what we look like. First, let me say that this eye look is very expired. My eyeliner was running all day and I kept rubbing my eye area. So I do feel like my under eyes don't look the best, but obviously that's not the foundation. That's a combo of the eyeliner, the concealer. I just feel like my under eyes got a little dry and a little crepey really fast, probably because I was rubbing that area. But besides my under eyes, I think the rest of my face looks pretty good. The foundation has completely rubbed off of my chin. My foundation always leaves my chin first because I'm always touching my face, especially my chin. And whenever my dogs lick my face, they lick my chin. They give me little chin kisses. But I would say the rest of my skin looks pretty good. You can see my skin peeking through a bit. So I feel like it has faded a little bit, like the coverage. I feel like it has lost coverage throughout the day, like it's fading, but it's fading evenly except for the area around my nose. I feel like my nose does not look good. It looks a little patchy and it kind of looks dry in my opinion. The area around my nose, the sides of my nose, it looks really dry to me. But like I told you guys earlier, I did apply concealer on top of my foundation on my nose. So that can definitely be the combo. Maybe that's just not a good combo because I always put concealer on my nose no matter what foundation I have on. And I feel like I don't always get a dry nose like this. So I do think it was the combo of the two. But my contour is still there. My blush is still there. Which by the way, I'm wearing the new Alamar blush palette on my face. I'm wearing mainly Paraíso, but I did add a little bit of Castaway, and that is the blush I'm wearing on my cheeks, and the foundation has kept it on my face all day. I also took off my lip color, by the way. It was just getting in the way of my eating. So I'm gonna apply some gloss even though it's 10 o'clock at night and I'm just gonna wipe it off. But I'm gonna take the Alamar Cosmetics Mother of Pearl lip gloss in the shade Luna. I just wanna add a little bit of wet juicy shine. That smells like summer. That smells incredible. Okay. Anyway, my breakouts are a little bit more noticeable now. Like I said, I feel like it has lost coverage throughout the day. Besides those little things that I didn't like, I think it's a pretty good long wearing foundation. It didn't really sink into my lines on my forehead. I also really love the packaging. I love that I cannot lose the cap because it's just a twist up. I also like that you can see how much product you're wasting, and I like that this is the kind of packaging that will literally make you use every last drop. I never took a flash picture, oh my gosh. Okay, I don't know if it's because I'm used to taking these photos right after I do my foundation, but I do not like how this photographs. I mean, ignore my under eyes. Wow, like, do I all of a sudden hate this Smashbox Studio skin concealer? I feel that way. My under eyes look so crepey, oh my gosh. I also don't like how my nose looks. I mean, it doesn't look great in person either, but you can see in the photo it looks really flaky and it looks dry around my nose, so I don't like that at all. I look terrible in the photo. I actually don't think the flashback is too bad. My face looks the same as my neck. Not bad when it comes to that. Anyway guys, that completes this video. These were my thoughts on Tarte's new Foundsealer foundation. It does retail for $39. I didn't tell you guys that earlier, but it is 39 bucks and you do get a full ounce in this guy. Most of Tarte's foundations retail for this price, and there are 30 shades in the entire range. I'd love to know what your thoughts are. If you've gotten a sample at Sephora, if you've purchased this, what are your thoughts on this foundation? Do you love it? Do you hate it? What are your thoughts? It's definitely not my favorite. I prefer something a lot more dewy, more hydrating, more glowy. But yes, leave me your thoughts down below. But that completes this video, guys. Like I said, I love you so much. Like, so much. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. A foundation can be hydrating. It's also hypoallergen. It's also hypoallergen because it does shear out, because it shears out my